So I do everything in giant print.
Oh, sorry, I didn't, that's okay. Well, also, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, close enough.
Mrs. Blickstein, would you like to light the candles?
I could.
What is the current masking policy? You want to be...
What you're comfortable with.
Okay.
We're in low transmission. I have a feeling that's about to change very soon. Again.
Yeah.
We're still in the
Grace and I
zone
both,
where we shouldn't be
both
getting
got
it.
sick.
I have-
We've gotten it.
We still have a good supply of masks available if you want one.
We have some masks. Grace and I both we both got COVID a while ago, like
Within
just
the
under
last
90
3
like
months.
less than 90 days ago, which is why we hopefully should have antibodies.
I've been
Me too.
careful and I keep testing myself and it's without my allergies, it's not COVID. So I just took one again this morning to be safe. So
So bad with matches.
Yeah, but I use a lighter at home because she has trouble with matches.
Doesn't give me the end of that part.
sure.
I haven't practicing the voice yet, I can ignore it.
We don't have that much time.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chag ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. This is our first 7:30. Not bad, only 10 minutes behind, so that's pretty good. Hopefully this, and like I said, it's going to stay this way until we get to the holidays. Keeps us from drifting too far away from sunset. And we're going to keep the meals lighter. I'm sure you all read that, so we can try to get out of here at a decent hour and enjoy our summers. Thank you all for being here tonight. Turning to page 13. For Psalm 96. You want to sing it all together?
Yeah, let's sing it all together. Ready? Shir l'Adonai, Shir l'Adonai, Shir l'Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shir l'Adonai, Baruchu Shemo, Basiru miyom liyom Yeshuato. Shir l'Adonai, Shir Hadash, Shir l'Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shir l'Adonai, Baruchu Shemo, Basiru miyom liyom Yeshuato. Thank you.
That was nice.
We'll turn to page 20. Let's do the odd numbered verses this time.
Okay. Lots.
Yep, easy to remember that way.
And we all rise on the final verse.
Lecha dodi lekrat kala, Lenei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, Lenei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor zachor b'dibur echad, Hashmi
Turning to page 22, Akiva, if you'll lead us in the
Have you
psalm.
been doing this in our absence?
We have been.
We can sit down.
Yes, we can sit down.
Maybe seated.
Please be seated.
Yes, we have.
I mean, not with the panache and that you managed,
No, but I'm
we-
so happy.
but we did.
So, okay, for the third line. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulezamer v'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Lehagid baboker chasdecha. Lehagid baboker chasdecha. Ve'emunatcha ba'leilon. Ve'emunatcha ba'leilon. Shalom tov lehodot l'Adonai.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
So turning to page 24. We've got the Shalom Aleichem, so we'll do this in Hebrew first.
Let's do one or the other.
Oh, okay.
Some are expedients.
All right. What do you think about doing it? Do you guys prefer English or Hebrew to do this one?
Hebrew.
Hebrew, all right. We'll do it in
You
Hebrew.
can speak English anytime.
Fair enough.
It's also so traditional that people, it's one of those things that a lot of people can do easily in Hebrew. That they're very,
Yeah.
It's the first thing I learned.
Is it really?
You've got me convinced. Let's do it in Hebrew. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Bohem shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ba'uni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem hashalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
you know, the point about expediency about this, about that psalm, Shalom Aleichem. We, Grace and I had a Friday night Shabbos at the Chabad rabbi in Bloomsburg, and at his house. And I was reminded that that's the Chabad and other Chabad places do Shalom Aleichem a little bit differently. They'll even do the same tune, but they'll go down this whole thing like what we just did, saying Shalom Aleichem. All four stanzas will be Shalom Aleichem, and they'll do another four stanzas of Boacham L'Shalom, another four stanzas of Baruch, another four stanzas of Tzitzcham. In other words, 4 times as long. They stretch it out
12
4 times
verses.
as long.
I thought it was 3.
Wow.
3?
I thought it was 3. Yeah. The point is, it's more than 1.
Okay, but we're halfway to the 4 if it's 4, and we're 2/3 of the way.
This isn't that you should be doing this. This is another custom, and we're
Yes.
glad that we're
We are not doing that. Yeah.
I was going to do the first and the last twice.
Based based on our numbers, let us jump to the bottom of page 27.
Because we don't have 10. But nevertheless, at the bottom of page 27, entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence.
Turning to page 31. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv ha'arvim.
Amari Varavim.
Amen.
Turning to page 34 for the Shema. We'll all sing together. Shema Yisrael,
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Turning to page 36.
If anybody would like to help me on this, please feel free. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levulecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'chayu ha'dvarim ha'eleh asher Elohim b'tucha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham v'shiknecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shavlecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam la'od al yadecha v'chayu l'totafot bein einecha uv'chaftam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha. Of course, the English translation is, "You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your Lord. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Turning to page 39. Do we have anyone willing to read either of the portions on that page?
I'll read the top.
Thank you.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Simon's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Thank you. So turning to page 40. Mi chamocha. So please join me. Mi chamocha, be'im Adonai. Mi chamocha, be'em kodesh. Nora tehillah. Tosefele, tosefele. Do you know the rest of the tune for the rest of it, Akiva?
Not quite, it's not quite working, so.
Huh? Okay. So who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? And turning to page 42. Hashkivenu. Please join me. Of course, we sing the first couple of lines and then we skip down to the indented bit. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, V'Hamidenu Shomeinu L'Chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, V'Hamidenu Shomeinu L'Chaim. Ushmor Tzidkenu, Uroenu, L'Chaim Shalom, Me'ata V'Ad Olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu L'Shalom, V'Hamidenu Shomeinu L'Chaim. Would somebody like to read the English translation? Thanks, Michael.
All right. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, for your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and our coming to life and peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people, and over Jerusalem.
Turning to page 44. Ishamru. Let us all join together in song.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריאת עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריאת עולם. בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריאת עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני
of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from the work and was refreshed. All right, we begin this silent Amidah. Pages 46 through 60. I ask you all to please rise. When you are through reading the portions that mean something to you or portions you have memorized, please be seated.
there are fewer than 10 of us, we weren't going to repeat the Amidah. But I did want us to do the prayer for the sick, because unfortunately, we kind of have a lot of them within our congregation at the moment. And on page 253, we have the version that we use.
If you'll all rise.
Yes, we all please rise. Are there any names that anybody here would like to mention? Janice Broder and Jessica Slotkin and Neil Young and Samantha Skogling. And anyone else who is in need of healing? Mr. Lemon. Nishabera Avotinu Nekol Abraham Limotenu. Make a source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishabera imotenu, Nikol Abraham Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
May all be seated. The psalm for today, now that we're celebrating post-sunset, is number 59. A plea to be spared destruction by David. Rescue me from my enemies, my God. Raise me above those who rise against me. Rescue me from evildoers. Save me from men of bloodshed. For behold, they lie in ambush for my soul. Mighty ones gather against me, not because of my sin, nor my transgression, O Lord. Without iniquity, they run and prepare, awaken towards me, and see. And you, Lord, God of hosts, God of Israel, wake up to remember all the nations. Do not grant favor to any of the inquisitrous traitors. Selah. They return toward evening. They howl like the dog and circle the city. Behold, they spew with their mouths. Swords are in their lips. But you, O Lord, you laugh at them. You mock all nations. Because of his might, I will wait for you, for God is my stronghold. The God of my kindness will anticipate my need. God will show me the downfall of my watchful foes. Do not kill them, lest my nation forget. Drive them about with your might and impoverish them, O shield, my master. For the sin of their mouth, the word of their lips, Let them be trapped by their arrogance at the sight of their accursed state and deterioration. Consume them in wrath. Consume them, and they will be no more, and they will know that God rules in Jacob to the ends of the earth. Selah. And they will return toward evening. They will howl like the dog and circle the city. They will wander about to eat. When they will not be sated, they will groan. As for me, I shall sing of your might and sing joyously of your kindness toward morning. For you have been a stronghold to me, a refuge on the day of my distress. You are my strength. To you I will sing, for God is my stronghold, the God of my kindness. Deliver me from mine enemies, O my God. Defend me from them that rise up against me. Deliver me from the workers of iniquity, and save me from bloody men. Saul had been elected king of Israel by popular vote. He had been the people's choice because he was tall and outwardly imposing. But Saul had failed wretchedly. The Spirit of God had departed from him, and he was tormented now by evil spirits, which twisted the cords of his heart into knots. Under their evil influence, depressing moods seized the king. His court and advisors thought that music would help to prevent his deep depression and demoralizing spirit, which infected with fear and dread everyone whom he came into contact. Inquiries were made, and David was hired to sing to the king and soothe his troubled soul with music on his harp. So far, so good. But then came the Philistine invasion led by Goliath of Gath, and Saul had more serious and demanding matters on his mind. David went back to the family farm. For a month and a half, Goliath held the Israeli army pinned down in terror, while he made a public mockery of both the Hebrews and their God. Then David returned, slew Goliath, and the love Saul once showed for this handsome musician turned into suspicion and envy. Again and again he eyed David and sought to slay him. He flung a javelin at him. He tried to get David killed in battle with the Philistines. He married his younger daughter to him in the hope that she might be a snare to him. He summoned his son Jonathan and his servants and issued orders that they were to kill David. At length, Jonathan's intercessions for David prevailed, and David was recalled to the court. For a while, all went well. But then it was a fresh outbreak of hostilities with the Philistines, and again David distinguished himself. Saul, enraged by jealous hate, flung another javelin at David. David fled to his home and confided in Micah, his wife, and Saul's daughter, that he was in terrible danger. Saul, meantime, had unleashed his human dogs to bay and bark at David's house. Their instructions were simple: break in and kill him by morning. There is something truly attractive about the sight of this princely young man kneeling by his bed and pouring out his fears to the Lord, while his foes were drawing a cordon around his house, proclaiming their intention of putting an end to him as soon as it was light. Enemies become like wild animals on the hunt, or enemy soldiers, for they lie in wait along one's paths. David reminds the Lord that he has done nothing to deserve all this. We can well imagine, however, the jealousy with which young David was viewed by some of the king's toadies. He was good looking, he had a charismatic personality, He was young. He had been brought in and given a position of great potential influence with the king. Who did the king turn to when his tortured soul sank into demonically inspired fits of near insanity? David. Who was it who, with sweet voice and clever music, charmed away the depression of a king? David. Moreover, Saul loved David. Who could help but love a man like David? The self-seeking aristocrats were jealous. David was able to bring relief to a half-crazed tyrant, but he made enemies at court, people who resented his closeness to the king and who were out to get him at all cost. They know how they would use influence such as what David had. They would use it to manipulate the king and eliminate all opposition to themselves. They imagined David was cut from the same piece of cloth. So they set to work to poison Saul's mind. David was a traitor. David was plotting to seize the throne. David was stealing the hearts of the people. David was just biding his time. David would one day murder the king until Saul believed their lies. These were his reasons, or so he said, for hunting him down. David knew who to turn to. He told the Lord about the trouble he was in. Not for my transgressions, nor for my sin, O Lord. He prayed desperately that menacing night. He was innocent of the things Saul was being told. In general terms, he pictures his formidable accusers as evil men lying in ambush. Here, transgression refers to treason against the king, the crime with which David was charged. There were times in David's life when he knew that he was suffering because of sin in his life. There were other times when he believed himself to be innocent of sin, not for my transgression, but still he was hounded by wicked persons. This teaches us that we should habitually train ourselves to have conscience void of offense to God and men. And herein I do exercise myself to always have a conscience void of offense toward God and toward men. They show their hands and charge David openly with wrongs of which he is not guilty. Since he was innocent and since God was just, all that was needed was for God to take note of what was going on. He boldly asked the Lord to wake up. Thou therefore, O Lord of God of hosts, the God of Israel, awake to visit all the heathen. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressors. Selah. What consoled him in this hour of panic, when his house was surrounded by vigilant enemies who were lying in ambush and waiting only the break of day before surging in to take his life, was his sense of history and his knowledge of God. In the first place, young as he was, he knew God. He piles up name after name for God. In the original Hebrew, in this psalm, he is Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh Sabaoth, the Lord of hosts. He is Elohim of Israel. He is Yahweh of hosts. He has the power. He is the God of Israel, the mighty God who has entered into covenant relationship with Israel. The mighty God had recently sent his prophet to Bethlehem to anoint him, David, to be Israel's future king. David, on his knees, weds together might and right. It is an unbeatable combination. Such was the measure of David's spiritual stature, even as a young man. His own case was urgent. The enemy was at his very gates, but he could find time to pray, not just for his own need, but that God would fully and forcibly reveal his righteousness by imposing it upon the whole world. He had expressed his plea to God. He had recorded his panic. The righteous constantly experience the mercy of the Lord, but his mercy is not extended to those who constantly oppose him. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressors. They return at the evening. They make a noise like a dog and go around about the city. Behold, they belch out with their mouth. Swords are in their lips. For who, say they, doth hear? Words have power. Words have meaning. So always think before you speak. Amen.
Thanks, Ken. So we are up to the concluding prayers. So if we'll all please stand and turn to page 282. And we're going to do the bottom of page 282. Please join me. Aleinu v'shabeach v'yadon ha'ol v'achei gedulah v'yotzer reshit zelo wasanu kigoyei haratzot zelo samanu v'nishbetu kalama zelo sam kalbinu kahen
And on page 283. Let us now praise the Sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the Creator, whose unity we are charged to declare, whose realm it is our purpose to uphold. Therefore we bow in awe and thanksgiving for the one who is sovereign over all, the Holy and Blessed One. Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spreads out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God. There is none else. Therefore we bow in awe and thanksgiving before the one who is sovereign over all, the Holy and Blessed One.
All right.
Page 287.
Page 287. Thanks. All right, if everybody would please join me in the prayer on the top of page 287. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Love each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. And then you may be seated. There are not enough of us, I'm sorry, to be able to do the Kaddish tonight. But I think we should read one of the poems and the pieces that are before it. Because there's been, it's right to do something to remember those.
If there's any of them, 1 through 10,
We were over on page 288.
beginning on 288. We did this last time. If there was anything in this section of 10 that speaks to you that you would like to share with us, please feel free to give us the page number, the number of the piece, and speak out. On page 289, number 2, in nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision, or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal the divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and all the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love we are comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you.
Right, so if we turn to page 62 for Oseh Shalom, we will head downstairs from there. And it's right on the bottom of page 62. Please join me. Oseh Shalom Bimruma, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'yiru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael.
Yaseh Shalom,
Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'yal Kol Yisrael. Amen.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you so much for coming.
And for so few, you sure sounded so good tonight.